All right, let's talk about that decision you've been avoiding. You know the one, it's sitting in your drafts folder, or it's on your task list, or it's that conversation you know you need to have, but you keep putting it off. Every time you think about it, you get that feeling, that mix of overwhelm and what if I'm wrong? So let's fix this. I'm David Hofstetter, and for 30 years, I've been training and coaching leaders in pharma, life sciences, medical companies, as well as other small and mid-sized companies. And today, we're going to work through your decision paralysis together. So grab a piece of paper, open up a notes app. We're going to do some real coaching work here. By the end of the video, you're going to have clarity on that decision that you've been stuck on. First, let's talk about why this is happening, because I can guarantee you it's not what you think. So here's a little fun fact. You make roughly 35,000 decisions every single day. That's one decision every 2 seconds. Everything from should I restructure the department down to do I want coffee or do I want tea? But here's the kicker. It's not just the volume. With every decision, you're getting bombarded with information. You're getting emails, you're getting Slack messages, you're getting your boss's opinion, your team's feedback, that article you read at 11 o'clock last night that made you question everything, data reports, and then more emails. So what happens? Let me guess. You freeze. You make a pro and con list, then you make a spreadsheet of pro and cons, you analyze it from every angle you possibly can, and then you think about it some more. Meanwhile, your team is waiting, your boss is wondering, and that little voice in your head saying, what if I'm wrong and make the bad decision? Sound familiar? This is decision paralysis. And if you're not in a log right now, you're not broken and you're not incompetent. You're just using the wrong framework for the kind of decisions that you need to make as a leader. So here's what I've learned after 30 years. The problem isn't that you don't have enough information. The problem is that you might be applying an individual contributor mindset to leadership decisions. When you were an individual contributor, back when you were the technical expert, you knew what was on your plate, right? It was your plate. You controlled it. You knew the variables. But now you've got 8, 10, maybe even 12 plates that you're trying to juggle, and you don't control all of them. Your team has their plates. Other departments have theirs. Things are moving that you can't see. And you can't analyze this the same way that you used to. There's too much. There's too many variables, and there's too many people involved. See, leadership requires you to make decisions where you won't always have complete information, but you own the outcome, and you have to course correct as you go. So let's build an approach. I'm going to walk you through a framework I call the 3-question reset. And here's what I want you to do. Think about a decision that you're stuck on, one that made you click on this video. And so let's build that skill right now using the 3-question framework. Got it? Got that decision? Good. Let's walk through it together. Question 1, what outcome are you actually trying to create here? Most people think they know the answer to this, but let me push you a little bit on this. If your answer is something like make a good decision or figure out the right answer, that's not really an outcome. That's just deciding to decide. What I mean is, what specific result do you need on the other side of this decision? Let me give you some examples of what this sounds like. Not figure out what project to prioritize, but get my team moving forward on something valuable while keeping their workload manageable. Not decide how to handle this problem employee, but create a situation where either performance improves or we have a clear path forward. Not choose the right vendor, but instead ensure our Q2 launch stays on track without blowing the budget. See the difference? One is vague, the other specific, measurable, and it gives you something to aim at. So right now, pause the video if you need to, but write down what outcome are you actually trying to create? Not make the right choice, the actual business or team outcome that you need. This is your clarity checkpoint. And honestly, for a lot of people I coach, this question alone breaks the paralysis because they realize they've been trying to solve the wrong problem. Okay, got your outcome written down? Good. Let's move on to question 2. Question 2, what's the real risk if you're wrong? And I want you to be honest here. Not catastrophic, not worst case scenario thinking, but the real risk. Because here's what I see all the time. People treat every decision like it's a life or death decision. Like if they choose wrong, the entire company collapses and they're out on the street. Okay, well, that's almost never true. But let's walk through it. If you make this decision and it turns out to be wrong, what is actually going to happen? Does someone die? Probably not. Do you get fired? Well, unless you're about to do something wildly unethical, that's unlikely. Does the company collapse? Come on, do you lose some time and have to pivot? Yeah, probably. Here's what I want you to write down. If I'm wrong, the real consequence is what? Be specific. We lose 2 weeks of development time. I have an uncomfortable conversation with my boss. Maybe it's we spend an extra $5,000 before we course correct. Most of the time, when my clients do this exercise, they realize the risk is manageable, survivable. Not fun, but not the end of the world either. And suddenly, the decision feels less like defusing a bomb and more like choosing a route on Google Maps. If this road has traffic, you're going to take the next exit. This is where you build confidence, not by being certain you're right, but by knowing you can handle being wrong. So write it down. What's the real risk? Not the fear-based worst case, the actual probable consequence. Okay, final question. This is the one that builds your credibility with yourself, your team, and your boss. So question 3, how will I know if this is working? This is about defining success before you start second guessing yourself 3 days in. What are the markers? What are you measuring? When do you evaluate? For example, in 30 days, we'll look at whether this project is delivering value based on these 3 metrics. Or after 2 weeks, I'll check in with the team to see if this new process is actually helping or causing more friction. Another one, I'll evaluate in 60 days whether this hire is ramping up as expected. See what this does? It takes the pressure off making the perfect decision and puts it on making a clear decision that you can evaluate and adjust as you go and not wait until the end. That's adaptive leadership. That's strategic thinking. So write this down. How will you know if this decision is working? What will you measure? And when will you do a check-in? And here's a key. You're not locked in forever. You're making a decision. You're setting a checkpoint. And you're giving yourself permission to adjust course if needed. That's not wishy-washy. That's smart. Okay, let's debrief this. You've just worked through 3 questions. 1, what outcome am I trying to create? 2, what's the real risk if I'm wrong? 3, how will I know if this is working? Here's what I want you to notice. How does that decision feel now compared to 5 minutes ago? My guess, it might feel clearer. Maybe not easy, but clearer. And that's the shift. You don't need more information. You need a better framework. Now, here's the part most decision-making advice doesn't tell you. If you just work through those 3 questions and you're still stuck, that's not about the decision. That's about something underneath it. Maybe it's perfectionism. Maybe it's fear of judgment. Maybe you're carrying a standard from your individual contributors days that just doesn't apply anymore. And that's where coaching comes in. Because frameworks are great, but sometimes, just sometimes, you need someone to help you see the pattern you can't always see for yourself. That's the difference between training and coaching. Training gives you the tools. Coaching helps you understand why you're not using them. So here's what I want you to do. Take that decision you just worked through, set a timer for 10 minutes, write out your answers to those 3 questions if you haven't already. Okay, never leave a training or coaching call without an action. Then make the call. Not the perfect call, just a call. Because here's the truth. Leadership isn't about making perfect decisions. It's about making clear decisions with confidence and adjusting as you go. That's what builds credibility with your team, your boss, and most importantly, yourself. If this was helpful, hit the subscribe button below. I post videos like this to help mid-level professionals go from overwhelmed and unsure to confident, capable leaders. And if you're finding that you're stuck in decision paralysis more often than you'd like, if there's a pattern here that keeps showing up, I've got a link in the description for a Get Clarity session. It's a one-time coaching call where we dig into what's really keeping you stuck, not just the decision, but the pattern that's underneath it. So drop a comment below. Tell me what decision you did work through today, and how does it feel now? I'm going to read all of these comments. I'm David Hofstetter. Thanks for watching. Oh, one more thing. Go make that decision right now. Don't wait. Go make it now.